It's amazing what can happen in a small town. Did you know that some of the most significant events in the history of mankind have taken place in little, out-of-the-way villages? Our story begins tonight in just such a town. You've probably heard of it. Try to picture it in your mind's eye. The little town of Bethlehem. How still we see it lie. Above its deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. It is late spring, and on the hills to the west of town, there are shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night.
Oh, I'm so tired. What hour do you think it is?
Well, let's see. There's the archer over there, and the goats up there, and the Feast of Shavuot just went by.
Speak up, Jonathan. I can't hardly hear you.
I said the goats overhead, and the Feast of Weeks just went by, so I think it's getting along toward the 8th hour, I believe. Pretty close, anyway.
That's close enough for me. I'm waking Zachariah up to do his watch, and I'm going to get some sleep. Hey, Zachariah.
Not so loud.
Zachariah, it's time for your watch.
It can be. I just laid down.
Tell him I see the rams coming up over the hill over there, south of Bethlehem.
Hey, Zachariah. Jonathan says that he sees...
I heard him. Tell him he's crazy. I see both rams right there, not 40 feet in front of me.
No, Zachariah. He's talking about the rams and the stars. Come on, get up. It's time for your watch.
All right, all right. Rams in the stars, goats overhead. What is it with you, Jonathan? You stay up half the night with your head in the clouds. Why don't you get some sleep?
Well, I guess when you get a little older, you just don't need quite as much sleep.
Oh, good. You watch the flock, and I'll get some sleep.
Well, no, I do need a little bit of sleep. I just got to see what's happening with the fishes over there.
Oh, great. Fishes now. Hey, Zebulon, I guess we got it all wrong. This whole time we thought we were supposed to be watching sheep.
Jonathan, what's it with you and the fishes?
It's because of these bright stars right up here. You see them? See them right up there?
Oh, you mean that really brilliant one?
Yeah. Now look again. There's two of them. One right beside the other one.
Oh, yes, I see.
Those are wandering stars, and they usually move around. But they've been right there in the fishes now for several weeks and haven't gone anywhere.
Well, they're so close together, they look like a single star. But why are you staying up to watch them?
Well, it says in the Torah, let them be for signs and seasons and days and years.
Come again?
The moon and the stars, they were put in the sky for signs. And I think this might be a sign.
Of what?
Of Messiah. What else? Every time there's an earthquake or a whirlwind or even a pretty sunset, that's all you hear. Messiah's coming, Messiah's coming. Any day now. Conquering hero, the mighty king.
Oh, now, Zechariah, don't be so grumpy. You know it's time for Messiah to come back. Our people are divided and we're hopeless and we're oppressed by the Romans.
You're just not facing the facts, Jonathan. The Romans don't oppress the people half as much as the rich Pharisees do. And the poor aren't much better. We're all corrupt, dull, and faithless. You really think Messiah's coming? Well, if he does come, he's not going to be driving out the Romans. He'll be too busy driving out us Israelites.
Strong words, despairing words, but unfortunately true. The coming of a conqueror is only good news to those who are on his side, already surrendered to his will. Each year at this time, a seasonal hymn proclaims, "Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room." But as our story reveals, regime change does not happen automatically, and it is bitterly opposed. In fact, there are only a few, like these humble shepherds, who are even thinking of being ready for the Messiah when he comes. Is he coming soon? Is there a sign of his coming? And if there is, who will be wise enough to recognize it? We turn now to a small town in Mesopotamia known as Sippar, where a group of scholars known as the Magi run an observatory. This same night, in late spring, a group of them are recording the movements of the stars and considering how they relate to the affairs of mankind.
There it is, Melchior. Just as I told you, in the constellation that the Romans call Pisces, the fishes.
That's remarkable. Thank you for getting me up this morning so early. Now, that must be Ninurta there and Marduk. They're so close together, it's like a single star.
Yes, and do you realize the significance?
Well, I know that Marduk has something to do with royalty.
Exactly. Balthazar, did you find that passage?
Yes. It uses the Roman names. Jupiter concerns royalty, the birth, reign, or death of powerful kings. And oh, yes, Saturn, guardian of the nation of Israel, equated by some with the Hebrew god.
And of course, Zeeb, or Pisces as you call it, always had to do with the lands to the west. Some of the Jews think it especially has to do with their land.
One of them told me that an anointed king, the Messiah they call him, will appear when Saturn and Jupiter join together in Pisces.
That makes perfect sense. Saturn, representing the god of the Jews, is united with Jupiter, representing royalty, in the land of Israel, as shown by Pisces. But does this announce the birth of this king, the beginning of his reign, or what?
It's not yet clear.
Caspar, did you tell him about that passage in the Torah?
Ah, yes! In the writings of Moses, a scroll called Bamidbar by the Jews. It speaks of a Babylonian prophet who blessed Israel.
Babylonian prophet.
Yes, he speaks of a king. Listen to this. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob.
A star.
A scepter shall rise out of Israel and batter the brow of Moab. And so on. It tells of all his enemies being destroyed.
If now's the time for this king to come, we should seek him out and make peace with him.
Yes, while he's still far away.
That would be very wise. But it's nearly summer, and too hot to travel. Besides, if my calculations are correct, these stars have been in the constellation of Pisces for nearly 3 months now. They should remain so for 7 or 8 more months.
That's amazing.
Tonight, there was a conjunction, and they seem to be one. But if I am not mistaken, they will do this again in Tazritu, the 7th month.
Ah, in the autumn. A much more favorable time for a journey.
Let's continue to observe them and make preparations to travel then.
And in the meantime, let's try to learn more about this Jewish king.
Good idea. Here, take this. And this.
And what are these?
Scrolls of the Hebrew prophets. We can start with these.
The mysterious wise men, or magi of the Bible. They don't seem so strange once you get to know them. Deep thinkers, yes, and curious about all sorts of things, but not the weird sorcerers that some people suppose they are. Historians tell us they were a tribe of priests of the Zoroastrian religion, famous for their high moral code and their love of learning. Like many people of their day, they searched the heavens for a sign, longing for the day that good would triumph over evil. But in order for good to triumph, it sometimes has to use extraordinary means. And when things happen that are out of the ordinary, people often become confused and insecure. And this was the situation 3 months earlier in the small town of Nazareth, around the time that all the signs began in the stars. A young Jewish maiden named Miriam was struggling to tell her husband-to-be about the most extraordinary happening of all time.
I could hardly sleep last night for thinking of you.
I was thinking of you too, Yosef.
And then on my way over here, I was noticing the birds beginning to build their nest. Seems that spring has come early this year.
Yes, it has. Did you notice the beautiful sunrise this morning?
Yes, it was spectacular. Dawn is my favorite time of the day.
Mine too.
Well, Miriam, I think the birds are going to have their homes built a little ahead of ours. I've had so much work in the shop lately that I've had little time to work on our own home. It'll probably be a couple more months till ours is ready, and I can take you as my wife.
Really?
Don't be sad, Miriam. It's just a few weeks more than I expected. Just think, by this time next year, we could even have our first child.
Yosef,
What is it, Miriam? What's bothering you?
I hardly know how to talk about it. For a few weeks I wasn't even sure it had really happened, but now I'm showing all the signs.
Signs of what?
Yosef, I'm with child already.
No.
It's not what you think. He said it would be from the Holy Spirit. He said he would come upon me and his power would overshadow me.
Who are you talking about?
He didn't tell me his name. And at first I had no idea who he was. He was here in the house with me.
Miriam, how could you?
No, you don't understand.
I trusted you and you...
Yosef, no, it wasn't that way. He was an angel.
No! Just be quiet. I need to think.
Yes, Yosef.
I'm going to do this discreetly. I won't disgrace you in public. But you must leave town. Do you have someplace you can go?
Well, my cousin Elizabeth lives in the hill country, but...
Well, good. Go there, and I'll deal with everything else.
Yosef!
Yes, Miriam, it really was an angel. And what he told you came true. The Spirit of God caused you, a virgin, to conceive. But in this world, even miracles do not go smoothly. The Bible tells us that her husband, being a righteous man and not wanting to disgrace her, desired to put her away secretly. The Bible also says she set out and went with haste to a town in the hill country of Judea. But there is much to the story of Yosef and Miriam that most people never stop to consider. So it was that Miriam arrived at the house of her cousin Elizabeth at a small town in the hills, and as the Bible tells us, stayed with her about 3 months. Our story returns now to the end of that 3 months. The shepherds are watching their flocks by night. The wise men are up early, observing the conjunction of the stars, and Miriam also has arisen before daybreak.
been chosen. I feel so all alone. But to me, your love has been shown. Give me the strength to go on. Give me the eyes to look beyond. I offer myself willingly, your will only to do. Who is this special child, Son of the Most High, the salvation of the whole world? Will he be driven out and alone? Will he be hated by his own? Creator of the stars in the sky, please hear my heart's cry. Give me the strength to go on. Give me the eyes to look beyond. I offer myself willingly, your will only to do.
Stars are beautiful this morning, aren't they?
Yes. There was one high up in the east that was very bright. Well, I think it could have been two stars together. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Oh, yes. A few times. Some people say that sort of thing is a sign of some special event taking place.
Some special event.
Yes, we both have special events coming, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I saw you out there walking, pouring your heart out in prayer, and a psalm came to me.
Really?
Yes, it's the one that says, I am small and despised, yet I do not forget your precepts. Trouble and anguish have come upon me, but your commandments are my delight. I rise before the dawn and I cry for help. I put my hope in your words.
Elizabeth, there's so much that I don't understand. What the angel told me hardly made sense. How was I, a virgin, going to bear a son? And why was I to call him Yahshua? How could he be called the Son of the Most High? It was all so strange. All I could say was, I am his bondslave. Let him do to me as you have said.
That's why he chose you, Miriam. You realize you are his bondslave. Just in that alone, I think you understand a great deal.
But I had no idea my husband would reject me. The angel never said anything about that. Yosef is such a good man, Elizabeth. So wise and understanding. And yet he believes that he thinks that was there something that I did that would make him think such things of me?
Miriam, you got pregnant. Usually there's a man involved and it wasn't him.
You're right. I try to remember that. But then I think of how close we were and how I gave my heart to him. Now that tender place inside of me is just like a raw wound. Even after all this time.
It seems so overwhelming and senseless, doesn't it?
Yes.
But really, It's not so important that someone would think evil of you falsely, even your closest friend. What matters is that you don't hate him for it. It shows whose image you're made in.
So, is this all just a test to see what's in me?
Well, it is true that we're tested by the things we go through. But I think it's even more than that. The God of Abraham is trying to do something on the earth. He has been for centuries. And his purpose is fiercely opposed. And because we are his chosen vessels to carry out his plan, we feel that opposition. Whatever hurts him and hurts his purpose hurts us. Do you suffer when you're rejected? And it's painful to be misunderstood. Well, now you know how he feels.
I see.
Now, who could that be this early in the morning?
Hello, Elizabeth. I saw the light through the window. May I come in?
Certainly.
Thank you. I got here late last night, but I didn't want to disturb you.
Well, that was thoughtful, but where did you stay?
Oh, just outside of town, there's a small grove of trees. Miriam? Miriam, I hardly know how to say this.
I forgive you.
Let him speak, dear. It's good for him.
After you left, I had planned to have our betrothal secretly annulled. But every time that I thought about it, it's like touching a raw wound. I tried to lose myself in my work, but your words haunted me. Over and over again, I saw your face, your pained, helpless expression. I heard you call my name. When I finally forced myself to think about the annulment, I just couldn't go through with it. And that is when I had a dream. And in that dream, I heard a voice. Someone saying, "Don't be afraid to take Miriam as your wife. The child in her womb has been conceived through the Holy Spirit. She shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Yahshua.
Yeshua.
For he will save his people from their sins." When I woke, it suddenly all made sense. I felt like such a fool. I had believed a lie. I remember you saying that it wasn't that way, that it was an angel. And the same angel must have been speaking to me in my dream. I don't know how these things are possible, but I know your heart, and I know your character. Please, forgive me for doubting you, and please, consent to be my wife.
Of course.
Our little house is ready. We can go just as soon as you're able.
You're safe. Elizabeth is about to have a baby.
How soon?
Any time now. She's going to need help with the birth.
Oh, don't you worry about that. We have a whole town full of relatives here. I will have plenty of help.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure. Your place is with your husband.
Yes, my wise, understanding husband.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. So the proverb states. And so Yosef took Miriam into his home, but he was so in awe of the miracle in her womb that he kept her a virgin until after the birth. And the birth, well, you've probably heard that story. Things didn't get any easier for this special couple. Forced by a government decree to travel in the last days of Miriam's pregnancy, they made their way with great difficulty to the small town of Bethlehem, along with hundreds of others who belonged to Yosef's clan. So crowded was the town that they had to find shelter in a stable. It is early autumn in Bethlehem, still warm enough for the shepherds to spend the night in the field with their sheep. 4 months have passed now since we last saw these shepherds, and for the most part, nothing has changed. Not yet, that is.
Got some supper over here for you, Zachariah.
In a minute.
Be nice for you to eat with us. We don't want you to be lonesome.
I said in a minute. I still need to fix this sandal strap while I got some firelight here.
All right, we'll save you some.
Hey, Jonathan, those are the wandering stars over there, aren't they?
Yep, looks like them, doesn't it?
And that group of stars they're in, that's still the fishes, right?
They do look a little fishy, don't they?
Come on, I got it right, didn't I?
Yeah, you're right, Zevin, you're right.
Wow, they're so close together, they look like they're almost touching.
Yeah, I've been watching them for a while. I think that's about as close as they're going to get.
Hey, Zachariah, the stars look like they're touching again.
Yeah, and still no Messiah.
Now, you can never tell. They're mighty close together.
I think they were even closer last time.
Well, I think this might be the time.
Right. So what's different this time?
I don't know. I just feel it in my bones.
The only thing you feel in those old bones of yours is the beginning of cold weather.
I don't get it, Jonathan. You and Zachariah seem like really good-hearted, sincere fellows. For some reason, you just don't see eye to eye.
Oh, he's just a little funny. Just got to get used to him.
You know, I was thinking, aren't those the same stars that our father Abraham looked at?
I don't think there have been any new ones created since then.
Well, I was just thinking, God told Abraham he would have descendants like the stars. And now we're everywhere. We're in Babylon, we're in Egypt, we're in Asia, Rome,
Hey, listen.
Greece.
If there's any Israelites out there that are worthy of the name, they're going to be right here in the land promised to Abraham, waiting for Messiah.
I thought you didn't believe in Messiah.
Well, I never said that. I just don't think the Messiah is going to save his people from the Romans.
Well, why not?
Because first, he has to save his people from their sins.
What are you talking about?
This is Yom Kippur, Zebulun. Or haven't you been paying attention? That's what all the hoopla down at the temple's all about. The whole nation's supposed to be dealing with their sins. But is that what happens? No, sir, not one bit. They make a big show of fasting and saying long, drawn-out prayers. The priests kill a few animals and business goes on as usual. I'll tell you what. If Messiah was coming, he'd go into that temple and bust things up. He wouldn't stand for all the pretending that goes on. I'll tell you what. If somebody doesn't go down there and deal with that mess, one day the sky's going to split open and God is going to bring judgment.
Don't be afraid. I have come to bring you good news. Let the whole nation rejoice. A deliverer, Messiah the King, has been born tonight in Bethlehem, the town of David. This is the sign by which you will recognize him. You will find a baby, snugly wrapped in a swaddling cloth, lying in a feed trough.
What was that?
Were those angels?
I think so.
A feed trough?
What'd you say, Zachariah?
A feed trough!
Well, that's how you know which baby is the Messiah.
I knew it! The Messiah's not coming to some palace. He's not coming to the priests and scribes. He's coming to a barn.
Well, let's go see what he's talking about.
Well, that's a good idea.
This is great.
Are you coming, Zachariah?
Of course, I'm not going to miss this.
Well, let's go.
Oh, what about the sheep?
Oh, yeah, we can't leave them behind. We gotta bring them.
And so it was that the shepherds and several dozen sheep wound their way through the sleepy streets of Bethlehem in search of a stable where the feed trough contained a baby. A very important sign, and one that, unlike our shepherd Zechariah, most people don't understand the real significance of. Meanwhile, this very same night, the wise men in Sippar have gathered together to discuss the sign in the heavens that has intrigued them for more than 4 months. And they are very excited about what they have discovered.
There they are, Melchior, just as my calculations predicted.
What a lovely sight!
This means that in all likelihood, there will be one more conjunction just 62 days from now.
That would give us just enough time to travel to Judea.
Yes!
If we left tomorrow.
Yes, I have a caravan all outfitted and ready to go. What do you say, Balthazar?
Do we know what these stars signify? Is it his birth? Is it his rise to power? Or is it his death?
Why do you even speak of death?
Everything that we've studied points to the birth of this king or the beginning of his reign. Agreed?
I think first there would be a sign of his birth, and then later a sign of his reign.
Yes, I agree. What do you think, Balthazar?
Sensible.
But we still don't know at which conjunction the birth would occur.
Well, we will arrive near the last conjunction. If he had been born earlier, the people there would know.
Agreed, Balthazar.
That's very sensible.
Now, if we go to make peace with this king, we need to bring gifts. But what should we bring?
I think the key is in the writings of their prophet Isaiah. Listen to this. A child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. There will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. Surely, for such a great king like this, there's only one gift that's worthy, the purest and finest gold.
Yes. But you left out the part about who this king is. Look at this. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There is something about this king that goes beyond the power and justice of his throne. For such a mighty one, I can only think of one gift that would be appropriate. Something that you'd give to God himself. Frankincense. What do you think, Balthazar?
My gift will be myrrh.
What?
Balthazar, that's not sensible.
Myrrh is an emblem of suffering and death.
What king would even accept such an ominous gift?
Have you men considered what it will take to bring to this earth the kingdom you describe? When have justice and righteousness reigned for more than a short time? For this Prince of Peace to bring justice forevermore will require great suffering.
But the prophet says nothing about suffering.
Ah, he does. Look here at this. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and like one from whom men hid their face. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. And this, he was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that is silent before its shearers, so he did not open his mouth. But the Lord was pleased to crush him, putting him to grief. If he would render himself as a guilt offering, we will see his offspring. He will prolong his days, and the good pleasure of the Lord will prosper in his hand. Much that the prophet says here, I do not fully understand, but one thing is clear. The purpose of God will not be accomplished without much suffering on behalf of those who bring it about. I am convinced my gift will be myrrh.
A sobering thought for those who pledge their loyalty to such a king as this. If the king must suffer to bring the kingdom of heaven to the earth, what must his subjects go through? For these wise men, the difficulties begin with travel along a caravan route, a circumstance they have never faced before. Their journey takes most of the 2 months they allotted. They are anxious then, when they reach Jerusalem, to find the child by the time of the final conjunction. Their many eager inquiries cause quite a stir in the city. Strangely, though, no one knows of this royal child, not even the king, a shrewd man by the name of Herod.
Your Majesty.
Ah, Marcellus, is it not?
Marcus, sire.
Yes, of course. What do you think of this? A little temple to the goddess of love that I plan to install in Caesarea.
It's very elegant, Your Highness.
Yes. These doors will open inward, you see. And there, larger than life, beckoning to all who enter, will be a statue of the goddess of love in all her resplendent pulchritude. Do you know what resplendent pulchritude is, boy?
Why, yes I do, Your Highness.
I certainly did when I was your age. Ah, the goddess of love. Venus, Aphrodite, Ishtar, Asherah. Long may she reign. The sculptor will fasten the statue exact image of my sister Salome. When she was younger, of course. That's a little joke, Marcellus. Salome hates me, you see. Not as much as my wife did, but enough. I did it again. I called you Marcellus. We shall have to do something about that. Well, why are you here? Do I have an audience scheduled?
No, Your Highness. but a delegation of Medes have arrived. Magi, they're called. They're inquiring concerning the King of the Jews.
What about? Did they find out I'm an Edomite and not a Jew at all?
No, Your Highness. They want to know where to find the newborn King of the Jews.
Do they now? What makes them think there is one?
They say they've seen signs in the heavens. They've come to do homage.
All very interesting. I would love to hear more. Show them in, Marcellus.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you, Your Highness.
May peace be yours.
May you deserve the blessings of the just.
We trust that your time in Jerusalem has been pleasant. Have you visited our temple?
Your Highness, the urgency of our mission has compelled us to forego the pleasure, though we have heard much of its splendor.
We have observed signs in the heavens that point to the birth of a king in Israel.
Signs that are confirmed by prophecies as old as the nation itself.
The blessing of Balaam, as recorded in the Torah, speaks of the star that we have observed.
It says this: a star will rise in Jacob, a scepter will rise in Israel. He will crush the forehead of Moab, the skulls of all the sons of Shet. Edom will be conquered. Seir, his enemy, will be conquered. Yet Israel will go strong.
Fascinating, gentlemen. But what does it refer to when it says Edom will be conquered?
We don't fully understand the prophecies. Our only interest is in bringing gifts to this newborn king.
The problem is, we don't know where to find the child.
All things are known by someone, gentlemen. It is just a matter of discovering each man's secrets. Marcellus, take this question to the chief priests and scribes.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Now, tell me, when did you first see this sign?
It was 6 months ago when Saturn and Jupiter were first joined together in Pisces, much as they will appear tonight.
But I first observed them several weeks earlier, both rising in Pisces at dawn. According to my calculations, they had been in the constellation for the 2 previous months, but were eclipsed by the light of the sun.
All very intriguing. So there have been indications of this birth in the heavens for close to a year.
Yes, Your Highness.
Your Majesty, I have Eleazar ben Zadok with me.
Surprisingly efficient, Marcellus. Well, bring him in.
Your Majesty.
Ben Zadok, we have need of your expertise concerning the birthplace of this coming king.
What Your Majesty asks is simplicity itself. You see, the visit of these men from the East has stirred up great interest in that very question. And so, even today, the council met to discuss the matter as to where the Messiah would be born. And of this fact, the prophet Micah speaks most clearly. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, the least of the clans of Judah, from you will come a future ruler of Israel, whose origins go back to the distant past, to the days of old.
You have been exhilaratingly brief, Ben Zadok. And for this, you have our deepest gratitude. You may take your leave.
Your Highness.
So, gentlemen, you have your answer. Bethlehem lies 5 miles south of here. You may travel at your convenience, and while you are here in Jerusalem, your comfort will be our preoccupation. Whatever you desire, simply mention it to my attendants.
Marcellus.
Just so, Marcellus, he will tend to your every need.
You're most gracious, Your Majesty, but due to the position of the stars, we must be on our way.
The heavens themselves compel us.
This Messiah will obviously be a very powerful king, and we desire to bring him homage from the beginning.
How true. It would not be prudent to neglect the issue. We ourselves must not wait until the child takes the throne. Now is the time to give him what he is due. Go in peace, gentlemen, and search diligently for the child. And when you find him, come back and report to me personally, so that I too may go and pay him my respects.
Your Majesty.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, Marcellus.
How may I bring you ease, Majesty?
These magi say, as the stars tell it, that this new king could have been born any time during the last year. I think it's safe to say that this child could be 2 years old or less. Marcellus, how many male children of that description do you think they will find in Bethlehem?
Not too many.
Their search should not take long then. We should hear from them by tomorrow night, at the latest.
And if not?
Then our search will be even swifter.
As these wise men journey south toward Bethlehem, there in the southern sky stand Saturn and Jupiter, so close together that they shine as a single star. Joy fills their hearts as they approach the little town. Soon their earnest questions lead them to a small house where at last they are able to lay their treasures at the feet of the small king. After the wise men pay homage to the newborn king, the night does not pass smoothly for them. They all share an uneasy sense about their interview with Herod. In their troubled sleep, They are warned by a dream to leave quickly, never to return to the crafty king. By nightfall the next day, Herod has learned that the Magi have ignored his instructions. He is enraged. Immediately, he summons his soldiers and sends them to Bethlehem with clear instructions. Destroy every male child 2 years old and under. In his dreams, Yosef hears a voice, one that he has listened to before.
Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt. Remain there until I tell you. Herod is about to search for the child in order to destroy him.
Oh, yes, I will.
Yosef, what is it?
Get up quickly, we must leave immediately.
Yes, Yosef, what is going on?
I'll explain later. Wrap the child snugly, it's cold outside. I'll get the donkey ready.
One road leads into Bethlehem from Jerusalem. Another road leads out in the direction of Hebron and eventually Egypt. That night, under the cover of darkness, a small family with a small donkey moves slowly down the Hebron road to safety. At the same time, under the cover of the same darkness, a large company of soldiers descends swiftly on Bethlehem from Jerusalem. Neither group is aware of the other.
Empty! Nobody's here!
Come on, this way. We found some down the street.
Little town of Bethlehem, how silent are your streets. The stars shine forth in the sky above. Your darkness is so deep.
Some of the most important events in human history have taken place in small towns. This particular event was very significant to the parents of the children who died. And it was significant to the intended victim, Yeshua, the only child who escaped that night. It was incidents like these that formed the conviction in Yeshua's young heart that no sacrifice would be too great if it would bring such evil and injustice to an end. It was this conviction that caused him to sacrifice his own life for the sake of others. It is a conviction that causes all who follow him to do the same. It is eternal. The same yesterday, today, and forever. Wise men still seek him, the one that was.